Hey, so I'm doing my movie review of Coal Miner's Daughter, and I'm also at the same time coupling that with channel update. Um, so as far as like the channel, just want to talk about a few things. Number one, I have been getting better about putting things in the description. So check that out if you haven't. I don't always do it, but I do put links if possible or anything now, as often as I can whenever I think of it. Um, I I again with Christmas I'm very busy, so until after probably New Year's, I can't guarantee consistent uploads. I'm going to try to. I have a schedule in mind. So my idea is movie reviews on Monday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I plan to do Bible study. On Wednesday, I'm kind of leaving that up in the air right now. And then on Fridays, I do my unbelievable reviews. It's really not always going to be unbelievable reviews. I'm not even halfway through those. It's just going to be sort of probably dealing with more extra biblical content, what's going on with thinkers in Christianity and philosophy and so forth. Saturdays, again, kind of open. Wednesdays and Saturdays are open. I'm hoping to put something that would be interesting into those slots, but sometimes it's good to keep things like that kind of open. I promise this will be very short so we can get to the review here. Um, and then finally, Sundays, as you know, is my sermon summary. And that's usually a little bit of a longer video that just goes over what I'm preaching on. Here, coming very shortly, I am going to be looking at Graham Oppy. It's going to be sort of a biography. It's a little break from the Unbelievable podcast. And I'll be doing some preliminary things to help anyone watching this understand Graham Oppy and his positions on things. He's a brilliant scholar that tackles some really heady issues. So I don't want you to be in the dark, especially if I'm linking you to material that you might end up watching. I want you to kind of have an idea of what you're getting into. And somebody is. Okay. Thought I was disturbing her there. All right. Now, Coal Miner's Daughter. I'm a story guy. When I watch a movie, I want a story. My number one thing is story. That's what I want. I want that more than anything else. If I don't get story, I'm typically not happy. It's why I don't like musicals. It's why I don't like action movies. They interrupt the story to show you something. Guardians of the Galaxy would be a good example. Everybody was talking to me about how great the story was and how funny it was. And they just kept pausing it for action scenes. Didn't like it. I did not think I was going to like Coal Miner's Daughter, but I had to watch it. It really overcame my expectations. It wasn't a great story. It wasn't. Now, listen, the whole story of Loretta Lynn and all that is a great story. And it does tell you, if you want to look at it in terms of what you've learned, and you want to look at it in terms of this person's life, it does tell you a great story in that sense. What I mean is, by story, is a very tight narrative that has very strict demands, and it sort of has a certain pacing to it. Okay, so like the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight, right? That would be a good example of a great story, in my opinion. Biographies tend to bore me. I was bored, which is for me a cardinal sin. Notice I've given movies I really don't like 2 stars. Can find some redeeming qualities. But if you bore me, I'll just tell you, I'll never review it. Serpico. I could not stand it. I gave it 1 star. I barely finished it. I like crawled over the finish line on that movie. It was so boring. Just the story, because it wasn't a story. It was about this character who's fictional, and it wasn't compelling, and it wasn't teaching you anything really worth knowing. I just did not like that movie. So with Coal Miner's Daughter, I was really expecting the worst. And while I didn't get my story and I was bored at times, I have to say that I do actually recommend this movie. I gave it 4 stars. It's a testament to her story and her husband's story. Doolittle, I think was his name, and how incredible their lives really were. And there were some brilliant ideas in this movie. One was, this type of southern country music. I don't know if it was country. It wasn't country music, but I forget the name of the genre of music. Honky tonk, maybe. It's funny. The themes of the music was being played out on the screen and played out in her life. This wasn't just. This wasn't just. Random songs like her big hits. No, they were trying to show you the link between her life and this music. And that, even though I don't care I have a very narrow ear for music. I like the kind of music I like and almost nothing else. I don't care for this style of music. And I don't like biographies. And yet, I enjoyed this movie. It's not even that I enjoyed it. I didn't have fun watching it. I just marveled at it. I thought that it was just such a well-made film. There was a time where they went into she had just pushed herself so far to the point that she collapsed on stage. And that was a real event that took place. And it was like, wow, you really felt it. And you're kind of like shocked that actually happened. And I think that should happen in a biography where you go, wow. I remember watching the movie Nixon. And when he said to the media, you're not going to have Nixon to push around anymore. I looked at my friend and went, did he really say that? And she was like, yeah, that really happened. A good biography, I feel like it should do that. Now, some would disagree. They might say, well, you should be too invested in the film to be thinking in meta terms. I get that. But for me, I just thought there were events in her life that were played out so well dramatically that I was like, wow, I can't believe that really happened. That was nuts. So another thing about me is I have studied acting. I think I could have been a professional actor. I wouldn't have made it big or anything like that. I might have been able to do some like theater or something. I had a couple theater teachers in college tell me that I possibly could have done something like that, but they intimated that I could make it in that business, but I just had too many other things going on. But despite my love of acting and haven't done it in years, I really don't notice bad acting very often. I'll have people tell me that acting was terrible, and I'll look at, oh, I didn't even realize it. Most of the time I won't notice bad acting. I guess if I'm caught up in the story, I just don't care. I know it's kind of strange. But Sissy Spacek and the actor's name, his last name was Jones. I don't remember his first name, unfortunately. Their acting and their chemistry was so good that I knew they were responsible for making me feel the way I felt when I watched this. I mean, really, it was an impressive feat. It's one thing, your acting has to be pretty bad for me to notice it, but your acting has to be incredible for me to notice it. And it was. Again, you could say, well, if the movie was great, why were you paying attention to the acting? Probably because I knew I was going to review the movie, honestly. Just to be totally honest. I wouldn't have watched the movie otherwise. It's just, again, subject matter, genre, and all that's not my thing in this particular case. I give it 4 stars. I think that if the subject matter doesn't interest you, I wouldn't tell you to go out of your way to watch this movie. What I would tell you to do is if it's on and you don't have a lot to do and you're looking for something to do and you have a chance to watch it, it could be worth your time to give a shot. Her life was incredible. It's a little bit of a played out genre. Look at the difficulty of fame, right? We've seen that story a lot. But despite that, the story's still great. The story, the overall story is great. Is it a great told story in the movie? Her story's great, but is the movie telling a great story? Not really, in my opinion. And if you're like me and story's your thing, like I probably won't watch this movie again because the story wasn't there, I will tell you one little quick story about Loretta Lynn I thought was really interesting. said she had very high levels of control over this project, and they brought in a director from Los Angeles, and she flatly said no. And they said, why not? And she said, I don't like the way he'll portray the South. You have to bring somebody who wants to tell the best story they can. And I thought, that takes some guts, man. Not many people will do that. You have a chance to have your life told in a major Hollywood film. This was an event film, basically, almost. Which I'll talk about event film at another time. A friend of mine has been debating what an event film is. The Macho Man I was telling you about. We've been debating he thinks it's a blockbuster is synonymous with event film, and I can't quite get through to him on it. Okay, I'll spend more time on that at another time. But I hope that if you do watch it, that you at the very least arrive at appreciation. And if you're someone who has seen it and loves the movie and disagrees with me, I get it. I probably will understand your position on this. And if you love the music, and you like Loretta Lynn, you should be all in on this. I mean, if you like Sissy Spacek, I mean, you should be all in. If you're a Sissy Spacek fan, this might be. I don't care about Carrie. This is her best performance. And there's a movie called Straight Story, which I will eventually review. And Sissy Spacek is brilliant in that movie, but not nearly as brilliant as she is in Coal Miner's Daughter.